the witnesses know, votes have been called. In fact, the clock's on 0, so I am more than likely to miss votes, but I don't want you to think that any of my colleagues left because of disinterest. They've been called to the floor. It's just a really important issue in my district. So I'm willing to risk the wrath of missing votes to ask some questions. And I wanted to go last because I wanted to hear everyone else's perspective. And I wrote a number of notes down, and I think I wrote them as accurately as they can be written. And this is the thought that kept going through my head. This past weekend, I saw a gentleman in my hometown walking away from a gas station carrying a gas can. So even I could figure out his car ran out of gas, and I had to make a decision whether or not I was going to offer him a ride. And I did. I offered him a ride. That's a risk, however small, that I was willing to take for myself. I would never ask any of you to do that. You have to weigh and balance that risk yourself. I'm willing to get on an airplane today because I want to get home quicker. The risk is very small, something bad's going to happen. I'm not willing to go bungee jumping, even though the risk may also be small that something bad's going to happen. So I haven't heard a single one of you say there's no risk. In fact, you can't say there's no risk. Even Mr. Hetfield, I think he put 2 varies in front of it. He said it's very, very low. I don't know if it warrants 2 varies in front of it, but there is some risk. Nobody has said there's 0 risk. And I think every one of you would agree that the potential consequences of us getting it wrong are maybe cataclysmic. I mean, we have to be right every time. So the risk can still be small, and something bad can happen. And what I'm trying to get folks to do is weigh and balance the risk versus the potentiality of us getting it wrong. So let me start here. Have we ever gotten it wrong in the past? Now, I'm not talking about Syrian refugees. I'm talking about any category of refugees. Have we gotten it wrong? Has our vetting failed in the past? Is anybody aware of a circumstance where our vetting has failed in the past? Not all at once.
I'll take that one, Congressman. The answer is yes, many times. Just earlier this year, an Uzbek refugee, admitted as a refugee, was convicted of assisting terrorism. A couple of years ago, 2 Iraqi refugees in Kentucky who had been admitted, it turned out they had their fingerprints turned up later on IEDs. And so the critics of skeptics, the defenders of bringing Syrians, they insist on saying no one has been convicted, no refugee's been convicted of no Syrian refugee's been convicted of terrorist activities in the United States. But these Iraqis killed Americans abroad. That doesn't make me feel better. Well, the conviction, they didn't do it here.
The conviction doesn't mean anything to me. The terrorist attacker is not going to be convicted because he's dead. So you can't use conviction as a barometer for whether or not somebody has been a threat. They may not be around to convict. So does anybody disagree that there have been failures in vetting? Does anybody take the position that we have made no mistakes?
Chairman Gowdy, I agree with you that in the history of the 3 million refugees who have come here, there have been a handful who have been a threat to the United States. And fortunately, they have been stopped before anything bad happened. And the 2 Iraqis in Kentucky were the most shocking example. They had done bad things in Iraq. They had lied to get into the country. And had our current system been in place, they would have been caught before they got here. And that's why the system has been improved since that episode. You had said few things in life are risk-free. I heard the governor of Washington State say you take a risk when you get out of bed in the morning. I mean, there's a lot of dangers in the world, absolutely. But I think the program that we run does as much as humanly possible to reduce the risks of bringing refugees to this country. And we have great confidence in it. and we invite members to come out to the field and meet some of the people who interview the refugees and sit through some of the briefings by Leon's team that I've sat through. It's a very impressive, a very thorough event.
And Ms. Richard, that's what makes me hate waste, fraud, abuse, deception so much, is that when anyone engages in it, it also impacts those who would never consider engaging in it, because it makes everyone have to stop and think. There is some risk. There's a great reality that if we get it wrong, something bad could happen. And you have to balance the risk with the potentialities of something bad happening. And when you do have people who abuse any system, believe it or not, there have been federal judges who undergo rigorous screening, including going back and talking to neighbors from 25 years ago. And they still turn out. We get it wrong with them from time to time. United States attorneys, serious FBI background checks with every available database. We still get it wrong from time to time. Even members of Congress, believe it or not, we get it wrong from time to time. So that's what I'm trying. We can't do it this morning, but you can't say there's no risk, and I appreciate the fact that nobody's tried to say that. We all agree that we are dealing with an enemy that affirmatively wants to do whatever bad thing they can do to us. And I just think it's put the American people in a really, really tough position, particularly given the fact that public safety and national security are the preeminent functions of government. I do want to end, Mr. Richard, by thanking you for coming to South Carolina and noting that the reason you had to come to South Carolina was nothing that you had done. And to Mr. Hetfield and others in his line of work, you're exactly right. The sheriff needs to be talked to, the superintendents need to be talked to, the community needs to be talked to, not simply people who may be supportive. If you want to find out the truth, you got to talk to everybody, including those who may not support the program, so you can weigh and balance the competing evidence. You should not have had to come to South Carolina, quite frankly. You should not have had to. It should have been done well before you and I ever met. So I think a lot of the information, the sooner it's shared and the more fully it's shared, the better people can make informed decisions. So as I leave to explain to the majority leader why I missed a vote, this is what I would encourage everyone to do. I really, Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Richard, what I really wanted to do if we weren't going was get you to walk the American people through every step of the vetting process. I really do like the director of the FBI. But I also acknowledge that the FBI may be experts in this realm of data. You have access to other realms of data. And again, people can draw whatever conclusions they want to draw. It's really none of my business. But until they have all the facts, you can't draw any conclusions. So to the extent you or someone else can just lay out for the American people every single step, and every database you can access, and every question you can ask, and the training of the people doing the questioning, folks are still going to come down on different sides of this issue. They just are. But at least they'll know they did it, having access to every bit of information. So with that, I want to thank all five. I do want to thank the administration witnesses for agreeing to a single panel. I know that is unusual, but given the circumstances of the day, it was a necessity. We'll thank all of our witnesses, and with that, I'm going to head to the floor, and we're adjourned. Thank you.